everybody, this is Heidi Bennett, and this is the first official episode of The Vibrant Kitchen. I'm a California girl, so we're gonna start out with avocados. So I'm gonna make guacamole today, and there's a couple of reasons why. One is I've seen gadgets and gewgaws and doodads and tips and ideas about how to keep like half an avocado in the fridge, or keeping like the pit in it to help it not brown. And also during the whole pandemic of 2020, I felt like I was just wanting to do things that would quickly, easily, really satisfy me and didn't take a lot of brain power. I felt like, even I had friends in the Lady Pod Squad, which is part of the podcast community that I'm a part of for the Vibrant Visionaries podcast. I would have, I remember we were talking about food and I had somebody say like, I'm just exhausted. I started a new job. I have no brain power. How do I just make something protein packed? And I said, you know what, on the way home, just grab, this is pre-pandemic, grab one of those roasted chickens and a couple of ripe avocados, come home, slice open the avocados, open that roasted chicken, and then just throw it all on a plate, throw some lime juice, a little hot sauce, and then just mow down. And that's like the quick and dirty way to like feed yourself, feed your partner, and get some protein and then fall asleep if that's the kind of day you're having. But today I'm gonna make guac. I'm gonna start with these green onions and cut the tops off. Now, why do I have green onions? Well, for one, it's what I had in the fridge. But I also like them because they have a certain brightness and deliciousness that I really enjoy. Green onions are generally very inexpensive, anywhere from like 79 cents to $1 a bunch. Slice them lengthwise a bit and get off the tough stuff. This tough outer layer is not very tasty. Obviously, if you like red onion or white onion, whatever your pleasure, these are what I had on hand, and they're nice and colorful too. So I'm also going to go ahead and chop off kind of the soft and limp parts at the end. Now, if I was cooking with these, I wouldn't do all that prep because cooking really kind of softens all that stuff, and so it's fine. So, I could even use the ones that I just cut and put them into something tasty to eat. But this is for something fresh, so we're going to go ahead and just give them a nice little slice. Now, I'm a home cook, but I also managed coffee houses and developed menus for award-winning coffee houses in the Bay Area and Sacramento area of California. And as a manager of coffee houses, I'd also hop in the kitchen and make menus and make lunch, whatever was called for. So there were certain times at certain places I've worked where I was instantly the chef. Sometimes for a day, sometimes for weeks at a time. So I just wanted to give you a little context of where I'm coming from. I'm really about making things super simple, easy, approachable, and delicious. And in fact, as I make this guac, I'm just gonna start with a few onions, move these to the side, and if we wanna add them later, we can. All right, so for the avocados, I'm gonna pull out that little hard nub at the end. If you've ever gotten guacamole with this little nub in it, it's bitter, it's gross, no thanks. All right, that one doesn't have one. These are just perfectly ripe. There's a tiny bit of give to them, but they're probably not gonna be brown on the inside. But even if they're not perfect, even if they're a little overripe, they're totally fine. In fact, a little tip that I figured out just being at home, living by myself, and having not all the ingredients available to me was that I didn't have some of my favorite ingredients for making guac, but I did have curry powder, just kind of the standard thing you get at a regular grocery store. The kind of orangey curry powder. See, I'm pinching this guy from behind. Safety first, always. And because curry powder is a little spicy and a little savory and shares often some of the ingredients that Mexican food has, I added it to my avocados. And so even though those avocados were not perfect, they were a little overripe, adding that curry powder really made them savory and delicious. But as I suspected, these guys could not look more like beautiful little green babies. Okay, so I mentioned at the top here that I've heard about all these different gigas and gadgets or different reasons that you want to try to save like half of an avocado in the fridge. I say forget that. Just always have limes on hand and make guacamole with the avocados that you have, and then fill them with lime juice, and that will keep them nice and fresh and bright looking. And then you'll have guac in the fridge available anytime you want to just throw something tasty, delicious, and maybe a little spicy, a little buttery in with whatever you want to do. Later on, we're going to make some avocado toast and, you know, just spread it out with some chips and bell peppers for dipping. So the takeaway is don't try to save half an avocado, just make guacamole. It will make guac toast, right? So it might not be perfect Instagram avocado toast with beautiful slices, but it'll be ready, it'll be in your fridge, and it'll be easy to eat, and we can make it beautiful too. Okay, so time to add the avocados. And I just slice these little babies right inside their jackets. And I'm just kind of doing like a little crisscross here to make them into chunks. And sometimes if I don't have a spoon handy, I'll even just go, but we've got a spoon. So I'm gonna spoon it out. I mean, there's great kitchen gadgets, don't get me wrong. There's certainly things that help make life easier, but there's like things you can buy to like slice an avocado. It's ridiculous. Use a knife, use a spoon. Always use a nice sharp knife. First job I ever had was at a bagel bakery, and I was a teenager, I had a mohawk. And I quickly rose through the ranks to assistant manager. It's a really super fun job, but we got into some shenanigans at that job. After hours, it was partying, illegal substances. We even had this snow cone machine at a certain point, because now why would there be a snow cone machine at a bagel bakery? Well, this particular place was across the street from a ballpark. So people would come in. We even had beer for sale. So you could come in and grab a 6-pack of beer. You could also grab a snow cone on a hot day. This is in downtown Sacramento. Sacramento gets hella hot sometimes in the summer. So I remember making after hours vodka snow cones. They were so delicious. And that was just before heading out. Somebody else was driving, a sober driver, to see the Beastie Boys opening for Run DMC. It was so awesome. So that was a while ago, as you can imagine. Do the math. I love the camaraderie and the resourcefulness when you're working for an independent business like that. In fact, the owner, he had a dream of having a really wonderful New York style bagel bakery in downtown Sacramento. And he did a lot of the research and really had some great bagels. Now, I have this lemon squeezer or lime squeezer. You can squeeze limes and lemons with it, actually. But as I cut these guys open, they're so nice and juicy, and I don't see any seeds, so I'm not even gonna bother using it. One less utensil to clean. So far we've got some green onion, some chunky avocado, and some lime juice. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up. I just kind of mixed it up a little bit. Finish up with the limes. This is one whole juicy lime. Now if you grab a lime and it's not that juicy, put in another one. If you like things to be very bright and piquant, grab a second one. That looks absolutely gorgeous. All right, here's another little thing I like to do, and that is to add some of this seasoning that in Mexico they put it on fruit a lot. So it's like a spicy seasoning. I'm gonna read the ingredients exactly. Chili peppers, sea salt, citric acid, dehydrated lime juice, and the stuff that helps it not cake. Now, if you don't have limes, actually this is also great because it's got a little bit of dehydrated lime juice. Now, fresh lime juice is best, but I'm just gonna shake this in to add a little something something. And that's another great thing also for that day where you're feeling completely brain dead and you just can't even think. Slice open that avocado, sprinkle this little magic stuff on there, you're good to go. Just grab a spoon and start eating right out of its little guy. So far this doesn't really have much spice. I mean, there's a little bite to the onion, but I'm just gonna use about a half of this big baby. I'm gonna use the other half for something else. I have an idea for it. Just slice it. It's got a few seeds. Now, I'll tell you, you hear a lot of times chefs talk about get the seeds out of there if you want it to be less hot. Seeds really do not add a lot more heat, but they're kind of tough. This is about half of a big boy jalapeno that I'm gonna add to the 4 avocados. Seasoned to taste, of course, so if you're like, I'm not really into it, or I have a serrano pepper, I'd rather use that, do whatever you like. That looks good to me. Now, if I was bringing this to a family gathering and I knew there'd be a lot of little kids, maybe I'd do like an adult one and a milder kid one where I just leave out the jalapeno. Easy enough to do. Now, one of my absolutely all-time favorite ingredients, good old garlic. I'm gonna add a couple of cloves. I also love garlic powder. Not the really powdery like powder, but the one that's a little bit more, tends to be called granulated. That one has a roasty pungence to it that I absolutely love. And I use garlic powder. I buy it at the spice market and buy it by the pound. So I could just as easily be adding garlic powder to this and be absolutely happy. I'm gonna just chop off the little tough ends here. And again, like if you have a garlic press, I have a cool vintage garlic press that you'll see in the future, I'm sure. But for just a couple of cloves, I'd rather just give them a nice little rough little dice here. Choppy, 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 throw in the bowl. Now, gonna add salt. Haven't done that yet. Nice big fat pinch. This is that kosher diamond crystal salt that's a little bit chunkier. That's what I like to use, and so for most of my recipes, that's what I'll be using. Always, you know, season and then taste, season and taste to make sure it's to your liking. And I mean, the ingredients we're using here, these are all from nature, right? These limes, sometimes they're gonna be a little more bitter, sometimes a little more sweet. Avocados, they're basically gonna have the same flavor, but just depending on the tree and where they traveled from and whatever, what time of year it is, they're gonna have different flavor profiles. So that's why you always wanna like take a recipe and tweak it to your liking, but always continue to taste along the way because it's never gonna be the same. Last two ingredients. I've got some cilantro here. We all know about cilantro. Some people hate it, some people love it. I'm gonna chop it up just a little bit. I don't wanna bruise it too much. I'm just gonna add just like a tablespoon of it. I could go wild, but I just don't feel like it. Hey, every day is a different day. Make it the way you want it. And then my final magic ingredient is the Chipotle flavored Tabasco. Chipotle is smoked jalapeno in adobo sauce. And you can mess with that. But you can also just do this. It's got a little bit of that, hot sauce, slight vinegariness to it, but it has a nice, rich, smoky flavor to it as well. So I'm just gonna do a couple of shakes. And that is our guac. All right, so I've laid out this guac, how I might have it at one of my own parties or really actually just at home, right? There's a couple of things I did here. One was got some of my favorite fresh baked chips from a local grocery store. So that jalapeno is there, but it mellows out in the avocado. So it's not a bite, which I like for this. What I really like about this is, yes, I used a little bit of chipotle, a little onion, a little lime, everything else that you saw me do, but none of it takes away from the beautiful, fresh, buttery, avocado. I mean, what else tastes like an avocado? Nothing. So I really like this because it celebrates the avocado. I also added bell peppers. What I like to do when I'm entertaining is have options for people. So like so far this is vegetarian, it's vegan, but it's also like if you're trying to stay away from carbs or have some sensitivity to corn, you can go for bell peppers. And the other thing I like to do is make these trays kind of small. I mean, there's extra chips here if you need them. Prep all this stuff the night before, like say you're having people over for a barbecue or a small gathering. Like prep the bell pepper, prep cucumber, carrot, whatever, everything you're gonna do, the guac. Like I said, the lime juice is gonna keep it looking gorgeous. You can squeeze a little lime juice on it the next day when you're entertaining. But then like keep these in your favorite containers, Ziplocs or whatever, in the fridge. And then throughout the party, instead of having a huge platter that over time is getting kind of sad and soggy and potentially not safe to eat, just make these smaller platters and then replenish them throughout from the fridge. So everything stays cold and crisp if that's what you want, and then, crunchy if that's what you want. But yeah, this one is a goodie. I'd love to hear what you like to do with guac, how you like to make it, what your secret ingredient is. These are, avocados are very, very versatile. I love them with sushi. I love them with Mexican food. I love them just next to eggs in the morning. I mean, there's just all sorts of things you can do. Okay, guac toast. This is my favorite little plate. I found it while thrifting, and I just think it's adorable, and I love putting my guac toast on it. So one thing I did was I toasted this lovely slice of sourdough. Then I opened the toaster and let it just chill for a little bit. That kind of let the steam come off of it a bit. And then added the guac. Okay, now we're going from vegetarian to very much not vegetarian, so Aurelia, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I'm gonna add some crumbled bacon on top. Obviously, if you're vegan or vegetarian, don't do that. Or let me know what you like to put on it. You can reach me at Vibrant Visionaries Podcast at gmail.com. Because before we launched this Vibrant Visionaries network on YouTube, I launched a podcast. So here's some nice crumbly bacon. Little bit more of the cilantro and onion just for fun, and little pops, little kind of like pops right in your mouth. And then I take this from Julie's Coffee and Tea Garden in Alameda, California. They put on a little bit of the furikake, or furikake I think it's called. So this is like a little bit of seaweed, a little sesame. Getting your Japanese flavor. It's like, it adds a different level of umami and saltiness to it that I really enjoy. And sometimes I also like to throw a little really tasty, fruity olive oil on here too. Let me know. Again, I'm at Vibrant Visionaries Podcast at gmail.com. Just let me know, what do you like to do with your avocado? And yeah, that's going to be it for the Vibrant Kitchen. Thank you again. This is Heidi Bennett, and happy cooking.